Good afternoon and welcome to this episode of Vote Like a Texan. I'm excited to be in Bandera County talking to congressional candidate Zeke Enriquez from Congressional District 21. Zeke, how are you today?
How are you?
I'm doing great. I love your setting out there. You're in Bandera County,
Yes,
it
sir.
looks like. But what has you running for Congress today?
This journey starts a long time ago. As a kid, I've always just had a servant's heart. So as a kid, joined the Boy Scouts, volunteer opportunities through that, and church ministries, outreach, etc. I was always looking for somewhere I could help with. I graduated high school in 2002, joined the United States Marine Corps right after, became a heavy machine gunner. And then after that, I became a firefighter. So service has just always been in my blood. It's in my DNA. And that's what got me here. And then last fall, or I guess the fall of 2024, I heard this voice it got louder and louder. I couldn't ignore it anymore, telling me to run. So, I talked to my wife about it and she said, absolutely not. Do not do this. And she came back to me later that day and she said, I've got to tell you something. I have been praying for good, godly men to step up and run for federal office. And here you are, of all people, hearing that calling and wanting to do that. Who am I to stop you? So she was convicted, and, she's my biggest bulldog right in my corner.
Well, thank you for all of your service. And it is a family decision when you run for Congress like this, or really any elected position this day and age, because it does impact everyone.
Absolutely. And I ran it by my children as well. I've got a daughter who's 13 going on 14 and my son 11 going on 12, because it would definitely impact their lives. And they're big time homebodies. They like to stay out here on the ranch and not be in the spotlight. And this would obviously throw some spotlight their way. But they're also 100% on board. We were watching, it's funny, the State of the Union address. And I was asking my daughter just jokingly, hey, would you attend these things with me? And she was fine up until about the third time in a row. They had to stand up after he paused to clap, etc. So it was hilarious.
Well, you're on the campaign trail. You've been campaigning for some time now. What have you learned talking to the constituents across Texas 21?
So, it's a little bit of everything. There's people who were extremely happy with the job that Chip Roy has done and is doing, and there's others that want change. I think there is a sort of a base, a medium that wants a little bit of both, and I kind of see myself as that person. I definitely am more America first and want to do things like slash spending, which I know the bureaucracy and the both parties can't do. They don't like to hear that you want to slash spending. So that's big. Aside from that, they're just wanting somebody who represents their values. They're tired of lawyers and bureaucrats and career politicians. And I'm none of those things. Like I said, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, a firefighter, a rancher. This district is home. Yeah, I've been here 7 generations. My 7th great grandmother, she settled in Fredericksburg. My 3rd great uncle, his name was Jose Policarpo Rodriguez. He settled the Poly Peak area of Bandera County, so he built Poly's Chapel, Poly Schoolhouse. And then I was born and raised in Hays County in San Marcos. So for me, this district isn't just lines on a map, it's home. And I think the district wants somebody who really understands what goes on in this district and how great of a place in Texas it is.
We are seeing candidates from across Texas joining this race for Texas 21, but you're representing Bandera County, which I think is really the heart of the hill country. You seem to be the only one from that region. I see a lot of people from Kendall, Hays, other counties, but I think you have a unique voice representing rural hill country.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of the district does touch places like New Braunfels, San Marcos, the southwest side of Austin. Being out here in Bandera County gives you a different perspective. You hear from people who have to work for a living with their hands and get dirty, and that's the kind of candidate I am.
So let's talk about what is the role of a congressional member here in Texas. Where does that intersect with all of the growth and the infrastructure strain that we're seeing in Texas?
Yeah, so
today?
I think the role is, really just to listen to your constituents. That people say, oh, you need to be a lawyer, et cetera. No, you don't. You just need to talk to who you're representing and realize that you work for them. And at the end of the day, you're trying to accomplish what they want done. For this district specifically, we've got to be on the lookout for things like data centers coming in, all that uh, new green scam, wind turbines, solar, battery storage sites, et cetera, and keep that out of here because people don't want it. So I think that's a primary role there.
What do you think they are looking for? Because if I look at the future of the hill country, it's the cost of living's going up, and then any kind of growth is a struggle. And eh, fall on either side of the argument, it really does create an environment where I think we're going to need a lot of leadership to work through the next few
Yeah, so
years.
I think we can tackle a lot of that stuff. So, housing is a big deal. If we start removing regulations, keep private equity from buying up all these single family homes, and just incentivize young people to do what Charlie Kirk said. Get married, start a family, have more kids than you think you can afford. That I think that's what they want to see, those kind of policies. And then for older generations, healthcare is, it's becoming unaffordable. I think Obamacare was a disaster, so I'd work to repeal as much of that as possible. Let insurance be purchased across state lines, and just deregulate is the key. It's it allows people to keep that money in their pockets and decide where it needs to go.
Yeah, that's an important part of it. And with your background as a fireman, when we think about the hill country growth, I'm very aware and very concerned of the large scale fire safety concern in the hill country. And are we prepared for it? Um, Similar to what we saw California's failure be with that large wildfire most recently, I worry that our water resources might be strained to fight a fire like
They
that.
absolutely would be if we start allowing all these data centers to come in. There's no question about that. I think right now, currently, yeah, we're prepared to handle a lot of it. I think there's actually an active fire right now in Gillespie County, somewhere around 1,000 acres, that they're working on. So I think we can definitely handle what we have now, but you're right. If we start, overusing these resources, especially water resources, then we'll be taxed. The burden will be too high. We can't. Local fire departments won't be able to handle it.
Well, what have you learned traveling city to city? I mean, I have to think that every room's so different, but maybe they're the same.
There are a lot of commonalities throughout the district, but I would say there is a line. Once you start getting a little more westward, you get a little difference there. You're not in the. I think the tighter you get into the city, the more establishments or old guard GOP um, presence is still there. Where when you get out to more rural areas, you get to the more America first or make America great again type of people.
Is education a topic that's coming up, and how does that fall into a congressional
Yeah, so it's
conversation?
it's come up at a couple of forums, and I go on record. I say I fully want to dismantle the Department of Education, return that power back to the states, and then empower parents to have the ultimate decision in education for their children. So ideally, I would push for the money to follow the child with zero strings attached.
And we're seeing some of that in Texas with the Texas Education Freedom Accounts. What does that look like at the state level? How would a congressional congressman interact in that state level conversation then?
Yeah, so it'd be mostly just from the bully pulpit. I'd wear out the phones and the ears of our state reps. Luckily here, my state rep is West Verdell, and he's on the right side of everything. So we're blessed for that. But yeah, just using that bully pulpit, staying on them, pushing them and the governor, to listen to what the constituents want.
And then what are you hearing about early voting? We're in the middle of it through Friday. Early voting runs through February 27th, and then the primary vote's March 3rd. But how's the polling going?
So it seems like the turnout is still relatively low. I think it's higher than it has been, but it's still. I mean, there's no excuse. It's pathetic. We need to increase those numbers. I want to say my wife read me a statistic out of Kerr County this morning, and less than 3,000 Republican voters have voted so far. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a big believer in same day voting, paper ballots, same precinct. So I get it if you want to wait till March 3rd. But if you see for any circumstance that's going to prevent you from doing that, then by all means go and early vote.
Well, especially in the rural counties, when you're in town, when you have the time, it makes it much more
Absolutely.
convenient. And it's the only place in this race that your voice is truly going to be heard. When you get to the November general election that you might say, well, that's where I'm going to vote, that decision's long
Oh
been
yeah,
made.
no, you're 100% right. The primaries is where it's your bread and butter. If you're tired of these rhinos or having to choose between the lesser of two evils, right now is prime time. You got to get out there and vote.
Well, it's a good call for everyone to get out and vote. And then coming out of the primaries, there's a good potential for a runoff. What does that look like, and why would there be another vote in May?
Yeah, so I think this race probably has a 99% chance of going to a runoff. I don't think Tejera, even with all the money he's spending, is making a huge impact. People don't want somebody who just plays baseball all their life and doesn't even hasn't voted in a primary or an election in Texas and is trying to buy the seat. That's not what we want. And I think people at the polls are showing that. So yeah, the runoff would be most likely Tejera plus somebody. Take place in May, and I'm hoping that we can secure that number two spot. Because nothing against Trey Trainer or Daniel Betts, but I think the the lawyer class is in somebody else that we don't want. I think that Tejera would be able to beat them in the end. And same with Mike Wheeler or Jason Cahill. If one of them were to make it, I think that Tejera uh, would end up winning. Whereas I believe our campaign, there'd be such a stark difference in you know being from Texas, being a servant versus being a Yankee and just a ball player.
Well, it's a good reminder that there's a lot of people in this race, so every vote is going to matter. And I want to encourage again our friends all throughout Congressional District 21 to come out and vote in early voting. And then if you have not voted in early voting, come out and vote
Yep,
March 3rd.
got to get out there.
Zeke, where can people find more information about you and your?
So you can check me out. My website is zekefortexas.com. That's ZEKE, the number four, TEXAS.com. My email address is on there. My phone number is down at the bottom as well. And believe it or not, I actually like talking to people. So call me up whenever, text me. I'm always happy to talk or chat, however you can get a hold of me.
Well, Zeke, I appreciate anybody that runs for public office and puts themselves out there like you have.